always thought our marriage was solid. I really did. For 7 years, I believed that David and I had something rare. A connection that could withstand anything life threw at us. We met in college, two naive dreamers who thought love was enough to conquer the world. David was kind, smart, and effortlessly charming, and I was drawn to that energy instantly. Our early years were filled with laughter, late-night talks, and the kind of passion that made every worry outside our little bubble fade away. I thought I knew him completely. I thought he would never hurt me. At first, it was the little things that started to feel off. A sudden late night here, a vague explanation there. He became distant in ways I couldn't quite articulate. But every time I asked, he'd smile, that smile, the one that made you feel like everything was fine. And I would convince myself that maybe I was overthinking it. I was in love and I wanted to believe in us, in him. Then came the evening that shattered everything. I had just finished a long day at work, my mind buzzing with deadlines, and I decided to surprise David with dinner at home. I wanted to see him, hear about his day, and maybe steal a quiet moment together before the chaos of life swallowed us again. But when I entered our bedroom, I froze. The sight before me wasn't something I could have ever imagined. There he was, David, my husband, the man I had trusted with my heart, with our life. He wasn't alone. There was someone else. I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, refusing to process the scene in front of me. Who was she? How long had this been happening? Every lie, every late night, every suspicious smile now made a horrifying kind of sense. The room spun as I tried to gather myself, my hands trembling, my heart breaking in slow, jagged pieces. I wanted to scream, to run, to demand an explanation, but something inside me, something I didn't know I had, held me still. I watched them, feeling a mix of anger, disbelief, and sorrow, realizing in that moment that everything I had believed about our love had been a lie. David turned, eyes wide, caught in the act. I don't remember what he said. I don't even remember moving. All I felt was a searing emptiness, a betrayal so deep it felt like it had hollowed me out from the inside. And as I stood there, trying to hold myself together, I knew one thing with brutal clarity. Nothing would ever be the same. Trust, love, and security, all the things I had taken for granted, were gone. And the hardest part? I had no idea how long this had been going on, or how many times I had been fooled while smiling, believing he loved me. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My body felt like it was made of lead, and yet my mind raced faster than ever before. David was stammering, trying to explain, but his words felt meaningless, hollow, and infuriating. My chest tightened as I tried to steady my breathing. How long had this been happening? How many nights had he spent with her, while I thought we were building our life together? The room, once my sanctuary, now felt alien, taunting me with every piece of our shared life. Our wedding photos, the gifts we had exchanged, even the small, cozy blanket we always used on Friday nights. Her presence was deliberate, calculated. She didn't hide. She smiled as if this was normal, as if this was acceptable. Every second she lingered, every step she took, fueled the anger rising in me. David's eyes were pleading, but my heart refused to accept anything but the truth. I wanted to run, to scream, to collapse. Instead, I stood there, frozen in shock, forcing myself to absorb every detail of this betrayal. That night I barely slept. I wandered through the house like a ghost, my mind replaying every memory, every conversation, every smile David had given me. Nothing made sense anymore. How could the person I trusted most in the world, the man I had shared my dreams and my fears with, lie to me so completely? My emotions were a storm. Grief, rage, humiliation, and disbelief colliding in ways I had never imagined possible. Over the next few days I watched him closely. Every glance, every word, every subtle gesture revealed more lies than I could handle. He tried to act normal, to maintain some semblance of our marriage, but the facade was cracking. I noticed the small things first. The lingering phone calls, the whispered messages, the subtle secrecy around accounts I had once trusted completely. And the deeper I looked, the more I realized just how blind I had been. But in the darkness of that betrayal, a spark of resolve ignited. I refused to be a passive victim. I wouldn't let this define me. I began quietly observing, listening, and planning. Every lie, every slip, every overconfidence on his part would become a piece of a puzzle I intended to complete. I wouldn't confront him yet. This wasn't about immediate confrontation. This was about strategy, about reclaiming the power that had been stolen from me. about making sure that when the truth came out, it was undeniable, unforgettable, and irreversible. And as I traced every step he had taken to deceive me, I realized that sometimes the most devastating betrayals are the ones that feel almost invisible until you are forced to see them. That realization, painful as it was, became my weapon. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was becoming unstoppable. A week later, everything fell into place. I had learned his routine, his weaknesses, the small ways he thought he was untouchable. He never suspected I was paying attention, never imagined that the person he had betrayed so completely could turn that knowledge into power. And now I was ready, not for a shouting match, not for petty revenge, but for undeniable, irrefutable truth to surface in a way he could never deny or escape. I started with subtle exposure. Little things like accidentally leaving evidence where it couldn't be ignored, messages that appeared by chance, pictures that found their way to the right people. Each small reveal was deliberate, calculated, and just enough to make him anxious, unsure, and increasingly careless. The thrill of control mixed with the pain of betrayal, creating a strange clarity I hadn't felt since the shock of that night. The real twist came when I confronted him, not in anger but with composed clarity. I didn't shout, didn't cry. I simply laid everything out. The evidence, the timeline, his lies, every hidden meeting. I watched his face turn from shock to panic to helplessness. The man who had made me feel so powerless for days was now completely exposed. And the other woman, who had flaunted herself as some prize, suddenly felt the sting of consequence too. She had thought she was clever, but she had underestimated the person she had crossed. In the aftermath, David had nowhere to hide. Friends, colleagues, and family saw the truth without question. There was no argument, no backtracking. The betrayal he thought he could conceal became the very thing that destroyed the illusion he had built. I didn't need to humiliate him. I didn't need to scream. The facts spoke louder than any words could. And in that silence, the satisfaction wasn't just revenge. It was reclaiming my dignity, my self-respect, and my sense of control over a life that had been momentarily stolen from me. The moral was painfully simple but profoundly necessary. Trust is a gift, and betrayal is a debt that cannot be ignored. Those who lie, cheat, and deceive must eventually face the consequences, not through force or anger, but through clarity, patience, and strategic truth. As for me, I learned that heartbreak can be transformative. It can strip away illusions, sharpen perception, and ignite strength you never knew you had. And sometimes the quiet power of truth is the most devastating force of all.